Once upon a time, I was a liberal. I am now walking away.
Well, I am. I'm walking away. In fact, I already did it. I did it a long time ago, but I'm still walking. Good evening, Patriots. Welcome to Walk Away with Brandon Straka. We have a super loaded show tonight, so I'm going to do a very, very quick intro monologue, and then we're going to get right into the guests because we have a lot of stuff going on tonight, and we're starting a little bit late once again. So just a couple quick things I want to cover very quickly before we get started. From December 6th to the December 8th in Washington, D.C., there is the American Priority Conference. And this is going to be a really cool sort of grassroots conference with a bunch of amazing speakers with a focus really on free speech and constitutionalism and talking about the importance of patriotism, free speech, censorship, which really, really ties in nicely to our show tonight. I'm going to be speaking at the American Priority Conference. I want you to check it out. And so is my guest tonight, Laura Loomer. So that's one thing I wanted to mention to you all. Check out the American Priority Conference. I'm going to be talking more about it between now and then, but wanted to throw that out there very quickly. The other thing that I wanted to mention quickly in our opening is the new initiative that the Walk Away campaign is rolling out, which we're calling the Walk It Forward Initiative. James, did I send you a meme on that? I probably didn't. That's okay. All right, no worries. So we're starting the hashtag Walk It Forward Initiative. And what this is, we're going to be rolling it out over the next couple of weeks. The Walk Away campaign is going to be really encouraging unity and coming together as patriots and coming together as Americans. And the way that we're going to be doing this is going to be encouraging people to engage in intentional acts of kindness and ways in which we can come together in a very nonpartisan way in America because, love and compassion and unity knows no politics. And that's really what the Walk It Forward initiative is going to be. So we're going to be kind of rolling out these different ways in which people can get involved, help out other people, come together during the holidays. And we're going to encourage everyone to use this hashtag Walk It Forward in conjunction with the hashtag Walk Away. So it's going to be sort of the Walk Away campaign's initiative to give back during the holidays because it's been such an amazing year. I mean, it's been such an incredible year. And we at the Walk Away campaign want to give back. We want to encourage other people to give back. And we want to encourage all people, despite any sort of political affiliation, to come together in unity and patriotism all year round. But we're really going to be pushing it during the holidays because that's really, I think, a great time of giving and to get this initiative started. So as part of getting this initiative started, the first thing I want to do before we get to Laura Loomer, I'm very excited to talk to Laura Loomer tonight. But before we talk to Laura Loomer, there's a family that I want to tell you all about. I got a direct message on Twitter a little while back. It was around the time that I went to Washington, D.C. for the Walk Away March on Washington. I got a direct message from a man named Paul Morrison. And Paul sent me a message. I'm going to read it to you now. He said, "Dear Brandon, I know you're making such a difference in the world. I was wondering if you could help me too. I have inoperable and incurable spinal cord cancer, and my wife just found out she has MS. We have 2 adopted children who are now 9 and 10. I don't want to leave this world knowing my wife will be in debt. Can you get the word out about my benefit? God bless you. If you need any more information, feel free to get in touch with me." And so I did. I called Paul, and we spoke on the phone several times this week. And he's just a really great guy. And his family, I think, is a really great family, like any typical normal American family, but they happen to be going through an incredibly difficult time right now. So I want to welcome Paul, his wife, Stacy, their daughter, Madison, and their son, Caleb, to the show tonight. And I want to talk to them and let Paul tell his story. And we're going to talk about ways in which we might be able to help this family that's in need right now. Can we bring on Paul? Hey, Paul.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Doing okay today.
You're doing okay today. How are you feeling?
I have my good days and my bad days. Today's actually been a pretty good day.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And it's been a pretty good day.
So, Paul, I just wanted to take a few minutes and let everybody kind of get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell everybody, first of all, start off, where do you live?
Eastern Kentucky.
Eastern
little town.
Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah, and Paul, what was it that you were doing for work before?
I worked with Job Corps. I was a residential advisor. I worked with young men in the dorm setting to help them, become better members of society.
Okay. And then, as you were describing to me, you were diagnosed with spinal cancer.
Yes. I have,
and when did that diagnosis come?
I have astrocytoma and glioma.
And when were you diagnosed?
It was December the 23rd, 2016.
Wow. Okay, so as if that weren't enough, and well, are you able to work now?
No. After I had my biopsy, my leg is completely numb, and I have days where I have to be on oxygen, things like that I can't actually hold down a job right now.
It's terrible. And so, as if that weren't enough, then tell us about what happened with your wife recently.
Well, we just found out just like a couple months ago that she has MS.
MS.
Yes.
And your wife, Stacy, is she with you right now?
Yes, she is.
Are we able to can we pull out and see the whole family? Thank you. All right, so we're gonna bring on a shot of the whole thing. There we are. Hi, everybody. Say hi.
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 Hi. So could you all introduce yourselves quickly?
I'm Caleb.
Hi, Caleb.
Stacy. Madison.
Stacy and Madison. All right, so it's been kind of a rough go for you guys recently, right? Stacy, you've had a lot of health problems now recently too with MS.
Yes, I do.
That's right. So I was really moved when Paul sent me this message, and I just I feel like your family. Well, Stacy, tell everybody too, because we talked on the phone yesterday. Tell everybody what it is that you do for a living.
I'm actually a family advocate for Head Start here in Martin County, and my job role is when we have Head Start children come into the program. I'm the family advocate for the family. I work more with families than I do with the children. My job role is to help families who are in need. Most of our Head Start families are in need. I help them, try to get a GED, to help them find a job, to support them as much as I can. I'm their role to advocate for them. A lot of these families, they don't know how to get started, and they don't know the steps to take. And being in the situation that I have been in recently, I can relate to their struggles and relate to the things that they're going through, because I'm going through those myself. So that allows me to be a better advocate for them, because I can relate the situations. And, we help children and their families. Some can't pay their electric bills. Some don't have clothes to wear. Some families don't have transportation to get back and forth. So that is my job, to help them as much as I can and refer them on to things that they need.
Well, I think that's really beautiful that you have dedicated so much of your time and so much of your life to helping other families that are in need and being there for other families. And my hope now is that the people watching our show tonight, and many of the patriots in the Walkway campaign, who I think are the most amazing people in the world, might be able to step up and help your family right now. Because what we have are two really good people who have found themselves in a very impossible situation. Paul, your cancer is incurable and inoperable.
Yes.
Right. You have your two kids sitting there on the couch with you. I really don't want to get into prognosis and things like that right now. Needless to say, the situation is very serious. And so this is a family that's really in crisis and going through a lot. And what I'd like to ask is, for everybody watching, do we have James, can we show the GoFundMe page for Paul's family? Okay, so we're going to pull up the GoFundMe page for Paul's family. But what I want to ask is that everybody who may be watching the show right now, if you're able to contribute even $5, even $10, anything that you're able to contribute. And as soon as the show's over tonight, I'm going to make a financial contribution as well. But I really want to encourage anybody who's watching tonight to please, if you can, give anything that you can to help this family. Paul and Stacy have 2 adopted children. They want to give them a great Christmas. And as Paul said in his letter to me, he's very concerned about leaving his family, leaving this world in debt. Obviously, that's not something that they want. And these are people who have worked, there we go, who have worked to help other people, to help other families, to help in the betterment of the lives of other people. And this is a family that could use your help now. And Paul.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
When people go to GoFundMe, do you know how can they find, do you have a name for your GoFundMe if they go to look it up? Is it just your name?
Just my name, Paul Morrison.
Did you have an initial in there too? Was it Paul something Morrison?
R.
Paul R. Morrison.
Yes.
Okay. James, before we get rid of him, before Paul leaves the show, could we show the GoFundMe one more time, please? Okay, there it is, Paul R. Morrison. So, guys, I really want to implore everybody watching to please consider helping this family out this holiday season. And Paul, we'll definitely have you guys back on. I want to see how you're doing.
Thank you very much.
I wish you guys a really great holiday season. Is there anything that you all would like to say tonight?
I just want to say thank you and God bless you all. And I'm kind of starstruck right now because I can see Laura. I'm a big fan, Laura, and big fan of Brandon. You know, it's been amazing being on here.
Oh, wonderful. Good. I'm so glad to hear that. Well, we want to do anything that we can to help you out. I mean, I think that's how the conservative community is. You know, I think we like to encourage people to be independent, but there are certainly times when people need a helping hand. And I think that this is a time that people need to step out and offer that helping hand to really good people like yourselves. And so, guys, please, anybody who's watching the show, please go on the GoFundMe. This is Paul Morrison and his wife, Stacy, their daughter, Madison, and their son, Caleb. Paul has actually 2 forms of cancer, incurable and inoperable. Stacy has MS. These are hardworking people who, due to their health problems that are happening simultaneously, they're struggling and having a hard time being able to do what they need to do to take care of their family and take care of what needs to be taken care of. So I want everyone to step up and help them out. Paul, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And we're going to check back in with you guys again later, and we'll keep in touch. And I want to wish you guys a very happy and Merry Christmas and holiday season. And we're going to keep in touch with you and your family.
Thank you so
all right,
much.
thanks, Paul. Thank you, Stacy. Good night, you all. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing between now and the new year. We really want to kick off this Walk It Forward initiative. So we're going to be encouraging people to engage in acts of kindness to help unify and bring people together, to encourage civility and unity and togetherness in America. This is a non-partisan. This is an initiative. This is for all Americans on either side of the aisle to come together, to be one, to be unified, to be Americans together. This is #PayItForward. And without further ado, because I know this is the woman of the hour, she also has had a very rough week and a rough go at it in several ways. Laura Loomer is an independent journalist. She is, I love this girl. I absolutely love this girl, and I've admired her for a long time. I love anybody who's who just is ballsy, puts themselves out there, isn't afraid to get in the mix, stir up trouble, say what needs to be said, ask the questions that need to be asked. I actually, I want to read to you. Let's bring Laura on the show, and then I want to read something when Laura's on. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hi, Brandon. Thanks for having me. I'm all right. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you. Laura was got a permanent ban on Twitter this week, which we're going to get into. We're going to talk about why. But quickly, before we do that, Laura, I was I was looking you up today because I wanted to see, I always like when I have guests on to see how they're described by various internet sources. So I went on your Wikipedia page, and it's actually a little more interesting than mine. These are all written by leftists, by the way. I mean, it's like a total... So Laura Loomer, according to Wikipedia, is a far-right political activist, conspiracy theorist, and internet personality. Laura, is that how you see yourself?
No, it's not at all.
It's not. No. The other thing that I was reading, this was I found this on BuzzFeed because I wanted to see how they were describing your Twitter ban. And this one is just utterly delicious. And I want to actually, it's kind of funny, but I want to get into it because I want to actually dispel some of the theories or some of the statements that they have out there, leftists have out there about you. And then we'll actually get into the tweet. According to BuzzFeed, you're a far-right personality known for spreading hoaxes and false conspiracy theories. The suspension comes after Loomer tweeted a series of anti-Muslim falsehoods about Ilhan Omar, a Somali refugee who is one of 2 Muslim women elected to Congress. Okay, this is something that I read about you a lot, Laura, and I want to ask you about it. Are you anti-Muslim?
I'm anti-Islam.
You're anti-Islam?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because according to all of these stories that I'm reading about it, it's basically describing you as sort of this alt-right hater. And what it really is, it's an ideology that you object to. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's an ideology. I don't hate Muslim people. I don't like Islam. And there's a difference, right? What people need to understand is that you can separate the person from the ideology. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who call themselves Muslims who really aren't Muslim. They're just forced into this ideology, this political system. And this name calling, like people calling me an Islamophobe, for example, or saying that the things that I'm stating about Islam are, falsehoods or conspiracies or lies, it comes from their own lack of education regarding Islam. And these are people who have probably never read the Quran. These are people who probably have never studied Sharia. They've probably never studied the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas or, several of these other terrorist organizations that are now active in our own government here in the United States. And so because of their own understanding, they call me an Islamophobe. But what they need to understand is there is no such thing as Islamophobia. And the reason why that is, right, is because if you break the word Islamophobia down, a phobia is an irrational fear. It is not irrational to fear that which wants to kill you. When you read the Quran, there are many passages in the Quran. There are many passages in the Quran that call for the killing of Jews, Christians, homosexuals, right? Why wouldn't anybody have a fear of this? If you are a non-Muslim, right, or if you are a homosexual, or if you even are a Muslim who decides to leave Islam, of course you should fear Islam, right? And so these are all things that need to be discussed. And because the ideology of Islam views itself as being supreme, it's a supremacist ideology that wants to be the supreme law of the land. Well, you have an inherent conflict when you have Muslim congresswomen like Ilhan Omar from Minnesota or Rashida Tlaib out of Michigan, because they believe in an ideology that wants to be supreme to our law of the land, our United States Constitution. And so the tweet that ended up getting me permanently banned from Twitter wasn't even a criticism of Muslims. I didn't even use the word Muslim. Right? I didn't even use the word Islam in my tweet. I simply said that Ilhan Omar, who is a Somali immigrant who came here from Somalia, she's a Muslim, right? I said that she was pro-Sharia. And I said, isn't it ironic that the Twitter moment highlighting a victory for LGBTQ people and women and minorities is Ilhan Omar, a pro-Sharia woman who is pro-female genital mutilation. Under Sharia, gays are killed. Under Sharia, women are oppressed. And Ilhan is anti-Jewish. I mean, for crying out loud, the ADL, right, which is a far left-wing Jewish organization that has attacked me in the past, even the ADL released a statement saying that Ilhan Omar was an anti-Semite. This is a lady who lied to Jews in the synagogue to get their votes, lied to them, told them that she was anti-BDS, and then after being elected said that she supports the BDS movement, which is essentially a boycott on Jewish businesses. It's what the Nazis did in the time of the Holocaust.
So I want to read to you a tweet that you sent to me that was, you put side by side by the tweet that you wrote, which is from Ilhan Omar, which says, Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel.
Yeah.
Right. So, but this is somebody who I think is propped up by the left. Obviously, that's considered acceptable. Of course, we know Sarah Jeong from the New York Times has years and years of anti-white tweets that went completely, that went without any trouble whatsoever. Candace Owens actually emulated one of the tweets of Sarah Jeong using the exact same words, but switching the word white for black, and Candace Owens was banned on Twitter for using the exact same tweets. So what's going on, Laura? What's going on?
Well, I honestly believe that, well, it's not even a surprise that Twitter has an inherent bias against conservatives, but I also think that Twitter is very anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish, right? I don't even like using the word anti-Semitic anymore because Muslims now are trying to hijack the term anti-Semitism, and they're trying to include themselves in the term anti-Semitism, when in reality, like, let's be honest, like, all forms of bigotry or hatred just can't be for the Muslims, right? I know that they want to pretend like they are a minority, which is also a falsehood given that there's 2 billion Muslims on the planet and there's 15 million Jews. But, I'm sick and tired of people turning a blind eye to this. You have people like Louis Farrakhan, who spewed Jew hatred. You have people like David Duke, who spews Jew hatred. You have people like Linda Sarsour, who was just asked to step down from the Women's March because she spews Jew hatred. You have Tamika Mallory, who also is a lover of Jew-hating Louis Farrakhan, who gets to have a verified Twitter account. All these people are still on Twitter. I mean, even Richard Spencer is on Twitter still, right? And he has said things that are way worse than what I've said, right? And I'm not saying that all of these people should be banned from Twitter. My thing is that if you're going to ban me, why not ban them, right? Nothing I said was hateful. Nothing I said was hate speech. I have never said anything as egregious as Louis Farrakhan or Linda Sarsour, right? And so it just seems like a total double standard to me that you're going to kick a Jewish journalist off and accuse her of hate speech for speaking out against Jew hatred and homophobia and the mutilation of young girls' clitorises, but you're not going to kick off the guy who says that Jews are termites, right? And what do you do when you have a termite issue? You call an exterminator. He's essentially calling for another extermination of Jews, another Holocaust.
Right. 100%. Yeah. See, but this is my question, though. This is what I think has become so confusing to people, is where's the line of delineation here? I mean, why is that okay? And I mean, is it literally just about color? Is that all it's about, that Muslims are considered people of color and therefore liberals are defensive of Muslims? I mean, what is it?
No, and Muslims actually don't like people of color, right? And Islam is very, very hateful towards black people. And so I don't know why liberals rush to protect the Muslims so much and why they want to be in bed with Islam and the Muslims, because Islam is the biggest patriarchy of all. All these feminists claim to be anti-patriarchy, but they love throwing their hijabs on. They love standing side by side with their Muslim brothers and sisters and, celebrating the Muslim community, acting like they're all minorities, when one, they're not minorities. Like I said, there's 15 million Jews in the world. There's 2 billion Muslims. If anything, I'm a minority. Linda Sarsour isn't a minority. Louis Farrakhan isn't a minority. Any hijabi or Muslima, whatever, they're not minorities. They're not. And they're growing at an extremely rapid pace, while there's acts of anti-Semitism that are increasing at a rate that hasn't been seen since the time of the Holocaust. A recent FBI statistic report actually showed that crimes against Muslims have decreased substantially, while crimes against Jews and Jew hatred in this country has skyrocketed. And it's very concerning. And when Twitter kicks Jewish journalists like myself off, but they allow for Muslims to tell me, oh, there are so many tweets and examples of Muslims on Twitter telling me to go to the gas chamber, or I wish that we would have thrown the Jews in the gas chamber, or I wish that Hitler would have killed more Jews, or Louis Farrakhan saying things like, oh, I'm anti-termite, or Linda Sarsour saying that Jews don't deserve to be humanized, or Ilhan Omar saying that Israel has hypnotized the world. Israel has hypnotized the world. I mean, like that is such an anti-Jewish trope to say that Jews have hypnotic powers. You know, you might as well say that Jews control the weather. It's disgusting.
Well, I want to ask you, Laura,
Twitter allows for this.
I want to ask you, like, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to compare the analogy that you made, or the statement that you made with statements that have been made to you about, you know, that you should be put in a gas chamber. And you think, not at all. But I want to ask you, do you think that someone who says to you that you should be put in a gas chamber should be banned permanently from social media?
Look, I think that our First Amendment right is what makes this country the greatest country on the planet. All right? And as long as somebody is not inciting violence or they're not promoting terrorism, I don't care what people say. When you say that somebody deserves or somebody should be thrown in a gas chamber, you're inciting essentially a terrorist or a death threat against that person. I don't think that should be allowed on social media. I don't think that calling for jihad should be allowed on social media. I don't think that calling for Sharia law should be allowed on social media, because that is terrorist activity, right? Those are things that can incite and lead to violence. But I just think that if you're going to allow for people like Louis Farrakhan and Linda Sarsour to spew their hatred, then you should allow for people like me to also be on Twitter, regardless of whether you like what I have to say or not. But I think that it's more dangerous. I think that it's not even just an issue of what we find offensive and what we don't find offensive. You really have to ask yourself, why are Jewish conservatives like myself being kicked off Twitter? Why are conservatives in general being kicked off Twitter, but the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas have verified Twitter accounts on Twitter? I mean, those are designated Islamic terrorist organizations. Why do they have verified social media accounts? Why does Facebook kick Jews off of social media for posting awareness about anti-Semitism, right, or Jew hatred? And why is it that the Anne Frank Center is having their post removed on Facebook for promoting Holocaust awareness and anti-Jew hatred awareness? But then Muslims in Hamas and these Palestinian organizations in Gaza are allowed to have their social media. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, did you know that the Anne Frank Center, I believe it was in August, Facebook said that their post in which they were encouraging people to learn about the Holocaust and Jew hatred was hate speech? But if you go on to Facebook, you can see countless posts of people in Gaza using Hamas pages on Facebook talking about how we need to kill the Jews. How is that acceptable?
So you feel that it's not only an anti-conservative move, you actually feel like there's definitely an anti-Jewish connection there as well?
Definitely. I think that there is a full-blown Sharia movement taking place in our social media companies, and I can back it up by facts and actual data. I mean, Twitter's second largest shareholder is one of the Saudi princes. I believe his name is Bin Talweed, and he's also been accused of being one of the largest global financiers of terrorism. And this guy is the second biggest shareholder for Twitter. The CEO of Uber is a Muslim. I'm banned from Uber for speaking out against their practices of hiring ISIS terrorists after one of their ISIS terrorist drivers killed 8 people in New York City. But they didn't do anything when one of their Muslim drivers kicked me and my friend Dr. Jane Ruby out of an Uber on Rosh Hashanah when he realized we were Jewish. He literally hit the brakes and made us get out of the car. So why are you allowed to have these jihadis driving for Uber who kick Jews out, who commit acts of terrorism and kill 8 people with their cars and rape women? There was a Muslim driver who raped a woman. Her name was Rebecca Dykes. She's dead now because a Muslim driver raped her. But then you're not allowed to speak out against Uber's practices of hiring Islamic immigrants who could potentially be members of ISIS, like this guy who killed 8 people. I mean, don't you think that's a little weird? I really do believe that there is a Sharia sympathizing movement in these big tech companies. And if you look at Sharia, obviously, it's anti-woman, it's anti-free speech. There is no free speech because anything that goes against Islam is going to be considered Islamic blasphemy laws. And that's what these companies are doing, essentially, is they're upholding Islamic blasphemy laws. It's Sharia.
Well,
that's why Robinson was thrown in jail.
What I definitely think without a doubt is that by not even allowing us to have these conversations, it's like you just said, like, people don't have to agree with what you say if they don't want to. But I think that we should at least have the option to listen, to at least have the option to read different points of view, hear different points of view, see different points of view, and decide for ourselves. But I mean, when they're only presenting one side of a story or a situation and silencing voices like that, I think we've all lost at that point. Because we're not even getting the full story. We're not getting the whole truth. We're getting one version of the truth that's coming from the top down.
Right.
Right. Laura, go ahead.
Oh, well, I also just think it's really interesting. I mean, just compare the tweets side by side. Why did I get banned, but Ilhan Omar is allowed to say what she said? And I know that her tweet has been reported a lot because a lot of people have raised awareness about this tweet. And why is it that the media is lying? Like, okay, BuzzFeed said, oh, Laura Loomer's a conspiracy theorist who hates Muslims, and she posted anti-Muslim falsehoods. Show me what I said in that tweet that is false. Open up a Quran and you'll see. You'll see. Go to the Middle East and see what happens if you're gay. You're going to be killed. You're going to be stoned. Go to the Middle East. Go to Saudi Arabia and watch what happens to women who take off their hijabs and burqas. Go watch what happens. Go to Somalia and go ask every single girl whether their clitoris has been mutilated. 95% of the women in Somalia have been subjected to female genital mutilation. Ilhan Omar is from Somalia. I mean, everything I said is true. She voted against legislation that would have made FGM a felony. She voted against legislation that would have halted insurance payouts to the family members of terrorists.
You're asking at this point, Laura, so tell everybody, I mean, because you've been banned on Twitter permanently.
Yeah,
you have
permanently.
At least,
for posting facts.
More than 250,000 followers that she had built up. And on Facebook, there's at least a temporary suspension, which is sort of hanging in the balance right now. For the time being, Laura's asking people to go to lauraloomer.us and subscribe to her website and her mailing list so that she can communicate with them. Go ahead, Laura. What were you saying?
Yeah, I'm just, encouraging people to go to my website and subscribe to lauraloomer.us. I'm going to be posting my official statement within the next day and with links to where you can find me. But I'm also going to be talking about solutions as well. Solutions to this that we need to start talking about. And one of the sites that you should really be promoting and something that we all need to be talking about is SMACA. It's called the Social Media Anti-Censorship Act, and the website is smaca.us. And we need to start introducing this and getting our congressmen and our representatives talking about SMACA, because instead of complaining about people getting banned, everybody knows that there's a bias against conservatives, right? But what are we going to do about it? This is not going to stop unless our representatives actually pass some type of legislation to prevent this egregious censorship of conservatives on social media, right? We need to have protection for our legal speech in this country, which is granted to us by the First Amendment. And these companies should not be able to pick and choose what type of speech they like. You should be able to say whatever you want in this country as long as it is legal, right? So again, if you guys haven't heard of this, it's called the Social Media Anti-Censorship Act, and the website is smaca.us. And I would encourage everybody to check it out. There's an attorney by the name of Josh Smith, who has been working on this, and he's been laying it out. And it's one of the only solutions that I've really seen proposed so far, because we haven't really seen much in terms of lawsuits yet. I know a lot of people have said that they are planning on suing, but lawsuits, litigation takes years. It takes a very long time. We need immediate legislation passed. We need our congressmen, our representatives to pass some type of legislation to fix this before it's too late. Because if the Democrats are able to knock all of us off of social media through this collusion with big tech, how are conservatives supposed to get their messages out come 2020 when Trump is running for re-election? You know, and this is what I was trying to convey when I confronted Jack Dorsey in Congress during the social media hearing. And I made a personal plea to President Trump. I said, Mr. President, please do something before it's too late, because Jack Dorsey is trying to steal the election. Those were my words, you know?
Right.
I warned everybody.
Response? Did you get a response?
No, I was mocked by the media. I was mocked because, you know, a congressman by the name, I won't even say his name because it's not even worth saying his name, but a congressman decided to make a joke out of it. But meanwhile, people are just getting censored and shut down. But I was mocked for calling out, you know, this, it was essentially perjury committed by Jack Dorsey. He lied to Congress. He said that He said that they don't censor conservatives and they don't have a bias against conservatives, but they were caught on camera by Project Veritas censoring conservatives and admitting that they shadow ban and censor and ban conservatives. So they deleted the president's account for crying out loud for several minutes. They do. They have an inherent bias against conservatives, and something must be done. But, you know, first they came for Alex Jones, right? And no one really cared because they thought, oh, well, Alex Jones is so crazy. Alex Jones is fringe. And, you know, I love Alex Jones. He's a friend of mine. I respect him. I think he's great. And I was there next to him during the social media hearing, and I stood by his side. And I still stand with Alex Jones, right? He has a right to say what he wants to say. But, oh, they came for Alex Jones. It's okay. Oh. Then they came for Gavin McInnes. Well, Gavin McInnes, oh, he's so edgy, though. He shouldn't have used that curse word. It's okay. It's not going to happen to me. Oh, then they came for Laura Loomer. Wow, Laura Loomer didn't even do anything. She was just posting facts. This is getting kind of scary. You know, Laura Loomer didn't post anything bad. She was just stating the truth and standing up for young girls whose clitorises are being mutilated and gay people who are being tossed off roofs and speaking out against this jihadi in Congress. Oh, here's another one. I mean, like, when are people going to finally have enough before they realize, wow, this is getting scary? It happened to me, you know, days ago, and it could happen to you. You saw what happened when you tweeted out Alex Jones's name. You got banned for 30 days on Facebook. So people who are watching this who think that I got banned simply because of my views on Islam, today it was me, tomorrow it could be you. You know, and expect to see a lot more of this taking place unless something is done. And I really hope that something is done before it's too late, because eventually so many people are going to get banned and they're going to get shut down, and there's not going to be anybody left to speak for all of you. It's going to be too late.
That's right. Laura, thank you so much. You're going to be next month. You're going to be at the American Priority Conference, correct?
Yes, I will be at the American Priority Conference speaking about social media censorship and investigative journalism, and I hope to see a lot of you there. I'll see you there, of course, and I'm very much looking forward to that as well. And you know, in the meantime, if you want to follow my work, you can do so on my website, lauraloomer.us. You can support my independent journalism and my legal defense while I fight and combat social media tyranny by going to paypal.me/Laura Loomer. I'm also on Patreon, patreon.com/Laura Loomer, and I'm on Gab, I'm on Minds.com, I'm on BitChute, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram. So follow me everywhere in the meantime, and but most importantly, subscribe to my website so you can, you know, stay updated with my updates.
James, can we throw the website up one more time? Laura, I just want to ask you one final question before you go. What are your thoughts on conservatives? There it is, lauraloomer.us. Laura, what are your thoughts on conservatives providing alternative social media platforms for themselves?
Well, I think that it needs to be done. There needs to be some type of alternative platform. I mean, we have very wealthy people who are capable of developing technology and other platforms, and I don't know why it hasn't been done, but you know, we're also really going to be faced with this issue of Google, which has a monopoly on the App Store, has a monopoly on a lot of things that are making it very difficult for people to have alternative platforms. I mean, just look at what they've done to Andrew Torba, who created Gab. It's been very difficult. So, you know, I think that we need to have alternative platforms ASAP. That should have been done yesterday. You know, this should have been done a long time ago, but unfortunately, nobody is addressing this issue of racketeering and monopolistic practices of these social media giants and these tech companies, which are really starting to control every aspect of our lives, you know?
Right.
And it's really scary. It's very Big Brother-ish. And, it's only going to get worse, and it's going to have very negative consequences for people in their daily lives. You know, first it's social media, tomorrow it could be your banking. You know, they could decide that they don't like you, so they're going to cut your electric off. They could cut your water off. And it sounds crazy,
Right.
but if someone would have told you 10 years ago that a social media company was going to be able to target you based off your political ideology and cut you off, or ban you from PayPal, or ban you from communicating on Facebook with your friends and family, you probably would have thought they were crazy. But look where we are now.
Right. Yep. Well, I agree with you. I think it's absolutely time that the conservative community step forward. We start finding some of our own solutions to these problems, as well as fighting what's going on the other side.
Right.
I look forward to meeting you next month. Actually, December 6th through the 8th at the American Priority Conference. Laura, I know that this is a crazy time for you. I want you to know my heart is with you. I stand by you. And I thank you so much for coming on tonight, taking the time. Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, thanks so much for giving me a voice. Have a great night.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
Thank you.
So the American Priority Conference, Laura and I were just talking about it. So this is going to be sort of like a grassroots 3-day conference. There's going to be a lot of amazing speakers talking about a whole host of different issues, constitutionalism. We're going to be talking about free speech. We're going to be talking about censorship. I'm going to be there talking about all of those things. I'm also going to be talking about the Walkway campaign and my mission to get people on the left to open their eyes to the truth about liberal ideology and the Democratic Party and what's going on, particularly in the liberal media and everything that's going on the other side. Okay, there's a whole lot of techniques that they use to target minority groups in America and to try to control the narrative. Laura and I were just talking about some of them. But I want to encourage everybody who's able to come out to the American Priority Conference next month, December 6th through the 8th in DC. And we'll take a quick break. James, do we have my promo video for the American Priority Conference? Let's roll it, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Brandon Straka, founder of the #WalkAway campaign. That's America's campaign that's encouraging all of the screaming, shrieking, shrill, rageful resistors to cut the and walk away. I'm so excited to let you all know I'm going to be speaking next month at the American Priority Conference in Washington, D.C. This is at the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel. This is hard to say. In Washington, D.C. on December 6th through the 8th next month. I'm going to be talking about free speech, censorship, social media suppression of conservative, fake news, critical thinking, everybody's favorite identity politics. And this is seldom ever talked about concern of the impact of free-floating helium balloons on low-flying aircraft. They're probably time to get into that. I want to see all of you there at the American Priority Conference in Washington, D.C. December 6th to the 8th at the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel. Come out to the conference. You're going to have a great time. You're going to meet a ton of people. You're going to learn a lot of new things. You'll get to say hi to me. Take a picture. I love to take pictures. I'm a picture whore. I'll sign your t-shirt. I'll give you a hug. It's going to be amazing. This is me, Brandon Straka, founder of #WalkAway campaign, saying goodbye, and can't wait to see you next month at the conference.
It's true. I'm a picture whore. It's absolutely true. The American Priority Conference, it's going to be amazing next month in DC, December 6th through the 8th. Come out and see us if you can. I'd love to take a picture with you, sign anything you want to sign, give you a hug, say hi, and you're going to hear a bunch of amazing speakers. And so now I'm anxious to jump into, listen, the show was, around the time I was doing the Walkway March on Washington, the show wasn't on for like 2 or 3 weeks. We came back last week. We had a panel show because we were trying out some new things, new production things, and so we didn't get to do our regular segment, which is one of our Walkaway All-Stars, our Walkaway segment of the week. So I'm very anxious to jump in to my next guest, which is going to be my Walkaway of the week. And let's start off, if we can, James, by showing just a little quick segment of his Walkaway video. This is Walkaway Mike Harlow. Coming right now. Here we go.
Well, as a friend of mine once said, once upon a time, I was a liberal. I'm not quite as good at the smoldery blue steel sort of stare as Brandon is, but I'll do my best. We are raised to be leftists. We are raised to be loyal soldiers to the Democratic Party. Even when I was in high school, in public school, the history teacher took a class on an illegal trip to Cuba to teach about the joys of socialism. And when they asked him why, he was like, oh, well, I'm communist. Of course. The school, they had no debate club, no civics club, but there was a communism club. So, it's just impounded in our heads at an early age. I had always been a liberal, but I never really bought into this collective shit. I was always a rebel. I was always different. Even in terms of being gay, I never felt accepted by the gay community. I never felt like I was part of them. I always felt judged, and they're mainly all about groupthink and conformity and looking, speaking, acting, thinking exactly as they do, and that was just never what I was about. So I guess my red pill story is a little bit darker than some people's. So I guess I'll just say that in summer of 2012, I had a home invasion sort of thing, and I was raped. Sorry, this is weird to talk about so openly. Without going into all the details, I guess, I was living in an apartment in Brooklyn with like 5 roommates, and, they were all leftist activists and all into drugs. And this one guy who was my roommate at the time was very closeted, and so, they moved out, and I guess he kept his keys. I was there alone, 5 a.m, But anyway, the point is, at the time, all of my friends were radical leftists, male feminists, social justice warriors, rape activists, the works. Those are favorite words. That's all they ever talked about. Rape culture. Ugh, I hate that term, by the way. So I really thought that going to these people, like, wow, they're experts in rape. They, it's all they talk about. That I really thought they would support me and have my back and help me seek justice and all that. That wasn't quite the reception I got. I learned very quickly that when this happens to a guy, nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody will let you talk about it. Nobody cares. I would try and talk about it. I needed to talk about it, with my friends. And nobody cared. They would smile, nod, and immediately change the subject. Yet then
Welcome, Mike Harlow, to the show. Hi, Mikey.
Hi, Brandon.
How are you?
Good. How about you? I feel like I should own it that I just cut myself shaving, so I'm just going to own it that I'm gushing blood right now all over your show.
Where? Oh, my God, where? I can't see it. Here?
Okay, good. Hopefully not. I feel like better to own it.
I don't know if you can ever own blood running out of your face. That's not like a thing you can own.
If you were doing that, it would be like in a glamorous way, but...
You could own like a kooky hat or like some funky shoes. You can just own. You cannot ever own a gaping wound. That's not that's not empowerment.
I should have just gone for like an Easter bonnet.
Absolutely, yeah. Or you could have worn one of Celine Dion's articles from her new children's clothing line. But we'll get into that later in the show. We'll get into that later in the show. All right, listen, Mike. Okay. So, first of all, let's let the cat out of the bag. We know each other personally.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, do you want me to should I call you Mike tonight or should I call you Mikey?
Mikey's good. Whatever.
I think
that's
Mikey's
what my friends call me.
This is Mikey Harlow, ladies and gentlemen. And Mikey, okay, Mikey, did you used to consider yourself a liberal? Did you vote Democrat?
Yeah, I never voted anything but Democrat. I was like hard left.
Okay. Well, okay, so and another thing I want to let people know, Mikey and I know each other. We know each other's sense of humor. We're both, we both have a very dark, acerbic wit, which we enjoy sharing with one another. So I just want to make clear to people, though some of the subject matter we're going to be talking about is a little dark, Mikey and I just kind of like to laugh about stuff, right? I mean, it's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to over-dramatize. That's my point.
Yeah, but it's like Carrie Fisher said, if my life wasn't funny, it would just be true, and that's unacceptable.
Who said that?
Carrie Fisher.
Oh, I love Carrie Fisher.
I know, me too.
She was like us, too. I mean, she was a very, very dark, acerbic wit. I love her. Love her. I would have loved to have known her in real life.
I know.
I think people are going to want to know, and hopefully you can fill in the blanks for us. You attribute a lot of your red pill experience going from left to Now, do you consider yourself a conservative?
Not really. I'm more like a independent, centrist, classical liberal. But the thing is, I feel like being a classical liberal today pretty much amounts to being center-right.
Correct. Because that's really sort of where I find myself as well. I mean, as we've all sort of said before, I don't really feel like I changed. I feel like the party changed, and I feel like liberalism changed for me. But what I want, Mikey, is for you to help fill in the blanks for people, because I think this is going to be confusing. Your story really centers a lot around a sexual assault that happened to you. So how does one go from being the victim of a sexual assault to leaving the Democratic Party? What is the connection?
Because this is such, as they do with any minority group, I think that is such an issue that they try to take ownership of and put their stamp on your ass of their whole ideology. And so going through that, I really got a front seat of seeing the hypocrisy of these people and seeing what they preach versus how they treat people that they claim to stand for. And those two things are in total opposition to one another. And I just saw over a period of time how everything that they do, all of their actions just are in direct opposition to their words.
And how did that manifest itself with you specifically, though? So you had tell everybody, sort of what happened to you, if you could.
Well, so, it's kind of weird to like say so openly, but like, so I had like a home invasion sort of thing, and like you said, sexual assault. And, all of my friends at the time were hardcore leftists and male feminists, and it's all they would talk about every day. Rape culture, rape culture, rape culture. Every minute of the day would be a lecture about that. And then these are the same people who wouldn't even allow me to speak of what happened to me. And every single one of them, I would just get a lecture about women and sexism and women have it worse, and just basically telling me to shut up. And then the thing is, too, it was sort of a long process, too, because from there, I had to get out of that apartment right away. I felt like I couldn't be there. And I ended up having to rent a room in the projects for a month and a half. So it sort of just started this whole journey of having a front row seat to the results of their ideology in practice in the real world.
Well, what did you discover when you had to live in the projects? Well, by the way, you didn't live in the projects on purpose, right?
No.
Because that's part of this. It was kind of a surprise. It was like, surprise, now you live in the projects, right?
Yeah, no, I called up one of those room rental services where you could just move in that day, and I showed up with my things, and it's in the projects. But I just had nowhere to go. So I genuinely think that there's no way to live in the projects for any amount of time and come out of there as a liberal. Because I think the things that a lot of these liberals talk about, they wouldn't want it for themselves. They wouldn't want it for their family, but it's fine for other people, So,
right.
I lived with this woman who I was renting a room in her apartment. She was 26 years old with 4 kids, 4 different fathers, most of them in jail. And she would tell me, when I asked her, what do you do for a living? She goes, I'm in the system. And her parents were, her kids will be. And she would even tell me, like, the buzzwords you have to use to game the system and get more money. She was like, just say domestic violence. And, and I just think it's really bad for them. It's really toxic. And seeing how generational it is and how toxic it is, that these poor people, like, I genuinely feel like it's not their fault when they've never known anything else, and this is what they were born into, and
yes,
nobody is asking for them, saying that they deserve better than this.
But I love that was her answer to what she does for a living. Like, that's on her business card, in the system.
Yep.
Like, oh, here. My name is Beth. I'm in the system. Yeah, it's not good. And I actually have, I've never really talked about this before, but what the hell? I feel like talking about it now. When I got out of cosmetology school years ago in New York, I was $30-some thousand in debt, actually more than, a lot in debt. And I had to start paying back my student loans, and it's New York City. So, my rent and my it's like $1,500-$1,600 a month I was spending on rent and utilities. Then I had my student loan payments, which at the time were almost $1,000 a month, because I had 3 different loans that were all due every month. And because I didn't go to a traditional college, I didn't have that option to do like the income-based repayment. It was a Sallie Mae private loan, which means you pay us everything or you go F yourself. Like that's basically the two options that you have, to default or to just pay what they ask for. So I got into a salon, and any salon pretty much anywhere, but certainly in New York City, when you start out, you get paid like $9 an hour to assist. And you have to be an assistant, and you have to assist for like, I mean, if you can find a place that you can assist for only a year, keep that job. Because a lot of places in New York, you have to assist for anywhere from 2 to 5 years at $9 an hour plus tips. So I got this job as an assistant. Now this is my professional job. This is what I went to school for, got my license for. Like, you know, and of course, then after you get done being an assistant for God knows how long, then you get your own chair and you get to start making like decent money. But so I was trying to figure out like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, you know, get by on $9 an hour plus tips and pay $1,000 a month in student loans and $1,500 a month in rent and whatever? How? And so I thought maybe I'm going to try to get some assistance, you know, because I'm actually like, I'm a good person. Like I'm actually trying at life, you know? So I went in and I applied for some programs and I didn't qualify for any of them because I had a job and because I had a full-time job. And then at one point I tried to get food stamps because I thought, well, at least even if I could get like a couple $100 a month in groceries, I could eat and that would take a little bit of load off my shoulders. And so I sat down with this woman and she was trying to work it out with me. And she was like, you know, you're making first of all, she said, you're making too much money. And then she said, you're working too many hours. And she said, let's try to find other ways. And she started saying, you know, like, do you have a drug problem? And I said, well, not anymore. I've been sober for a couple of years. And she was like, well, it would be better if you did. And I was just like, what the hell? And I walked out of that room and I was like, the only way that you can get assistance in this country is if you don't work, you're cracked out of your fucking mind, and you have no intention of ever going back to work. Because if you got, like, I was trying to do everything right. And so essentially I ended up having to leave that salon job and I got a different job doing freelance hairstyling where I was able to support myself better. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to be doing. And now I'm doing Walkway and I'm doing this. So thank God everything turned out the way that it did. But the point is that these systems are set up to keep people enslaved in poverty and despair.
Is a scam. It's a scam to keep you broke, unhappy, unsuccessful, and voting Democrat.
That's right. That's right. Because if I had allowed myself to get into that system, Mikey, and just be like, okay, well, I guess maybe I'll quit this job, maybe whatever, I would have just kept voting Democrat to stay broke. So I could stay broke and stay enslaved.
It's like getting people hooked on drugs. It's like free money is a drug. And then you say you get people hooked on this drug of free money. And then you say, if you want your fix, you have to keep voting for us.
That's right. And, you know, this is a huge part, I think, of my story, too, and why I'm so pro-conservatism. Like, listen, I am pro-Second Amendment. I'm pro-First Amendment. Yes, absolutely. But I'm not a conservative because I've got like an arsenal of guns under my bed right now. And I'm just like, I want to have my guns. You know, I'm a conservative
in New York,
because
we'd have a better chance of having a unicorn under there.
I'm a conservative because I found out firsthand the value of self-empowerment that can only come from doing for yourself and going out and working hard and being everything that you were put on this earth to be. I could have taken that road of being like, okay, I'm going to just like cut back on my hours as an assistant and, you know, go in every day to these drug programs that I don't need anymore because I'm already in a 12-step program. And that's my, you know, but because that was the thing too. They're like, you need to see a doctor like every day. You need to, like that becomes a full-time job, like seeing doctors and going through their, you know, all this rigmarole of crap. But through not doing that, I mean, look how my life has turned out the last couple of years. I'm sorry, because we're going to talk about you, I promise. But I get kind of fired up about this because I'm sorry. No, but I get really fired up about this because the reason why I'm a conservative, and this is what I say time and time again, is because I'm pro-personal empowerment. And the Democratic Party will never allow people to be self-empowered and self-independent. Never.
No, it's a mental trap. And that's why I sort of, in talking about my journey of walking away from the left, I sort of frame it through one of the worst things that happened to me, because it would have been very easy for me to just sit. It's as if the left today encourages emotional instability, where you should just stew in your victimhood and feel sorry for yourself and don't do anything. And that's the easy way out, So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry. That was like a very long tangent that we went on. Please go back to saying that you had these people in your life, and you've just experienced this very, very intense sexual assault, a very intense situation in your life. And what was the level of support that you received from your liberal friends?
Oh, none. But less than zero. But then at the same time, every day I would be given a long lecture about rape culture against women, and women, how they're raped and they can't walk down the street. And, this is like literally days after going through this. It's as if it was just an inconvenience for me to even bring it up as a guy who that's happened. And the thing is, too, I really don't think a lot of people realize that, like, it's not that uncommon to happen to guys. It's just you're not allowed to talk about it when it does. There's no level of education. There's no discussion that can be had because these feminists will just shut you down.
Well, did they just not believe you?
I don't know if it's that they didn't believe me. It's just, I don't know. It was as if it was, I don't know if it's just their hypocrisy that they preach so much about, supporting survivors and all this crap, that their actions don't match their words, or if they're just total hypocrites. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. I mean, it's an inconvenient truth to them, because it's an inconvenient reality that is
narrative.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's an inconvenient reality that falls contrary to their narrative. That's exactly it. And why is this narrative so important to them? Why is it gospel? Why, Mikey?
I don't know. And here's the thing, too. I was actually just talking about this a couple weeks ago with a good friend of mine who she went through one of the most horrible things I've ever heard. She was like gang raped at gunpoint when she was like 14. And she is one of the strongest, most together, most emotionally well, successful, great people I know. And we were saying how, like, you have to move on from things. And these people who act like victim of the century, it's always these people who are like, oh, someone once grabbed my ass at a bar 10 years ago. I'm traumatized,
Right.
And people who've been through actual things in their lives move the hell on and get over it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're proof of that. I think that I'm proof of that. I think, I try not to be insensitive, but it's like there are people sometimes who tell me these things that happen to them that have kept them in a state of paralysis their entire life. And I'm like, that was my Monday morning. Like, what are you, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that was like the best part of my Tuesday, what you just described. And I'm moving on. I'm doing fine. Like, I'm charging forward. It's all good. All right. So what happens now, Mikey? What happens now for you?
Like in life?
Yeah, I want to know, like, politically, what's it like? So you obviously you've fallen away from the left. So now what?
It's sort of one of those things that once you, take the red pill, once you see the left for what it is, there's no unseeing it. It's like once you see how dishonest the media is, there's no unseeing it. There's no going back. And the thing that I've noticed too is it seems like the left is always ready to excise people from it. They're always willing to cut ties. Even if you agree with them on 99% of stuff, it is never enough. They just demand total submission. And they're always ready to cut their own people loose. Whereas the right, like, there are plenty of things that I disagree with the right on, and it's just never once been an issue. Like, they're always welcoming and want you to join them. And, so for me, I find it's easier to have those sorts of friendships where you can have disagreements and have a mutual respect, as opposed to these people who are just ready to call you, every name in the world, and you'll never convince them that you're a decent person.
You experience that a lot? like people, because you've left the left, people who are still on the left, questioning your morals, questioning your...
Please, I'm a gay homophobe. I'm a Jewish Nazi. I'm everything, all of the above.
You're a gay homophobe and a Jewish Nazi. I like that. Well, I'm not Jewish, so I don't have that going for myself. But I love Jewish people. I'm just gonna go on record right now and saying that I always have. I hope to one day end up.
You're literally Hitler.
Well, I'm the worst possible Hitler there is, because I dream of hitching my wagon to a swarthy Israeli man someday.
Oh, that's right. I forgot your type.
What?
What's that?
Mikey, what did you say?
I said, ooh, that's right. I forgot that's your type.
I love him. Oh my God, I love him. I love him. Yeah. All right, Mikey, thank you for joining us on the show tonight, but you're not going anywhere because Mikey is actually joining us on the panel. So tonight, we're going to do another panel segment. We're going to talk about some of my favorite stories of the week. And James, is that something we could go right into, or do we have to take a break? We can go right into the panel? Oh my God, look at that. Seamless, absolutely seamless. So my panel tonight are some of my absolute favorites, as always. Magdalene Rose. Say hi, Magdalene.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming back. Shamika Michelle, always great to have you. And I think everybody knows Mikey Harlow. Mike, say hi again.
Hi.
All right. So panel, we have a lot to unpack this week. So I think that we should dive right into it. Let's jump in on the first topic. Sorry, one moment. Of course, my email locked up on me. Give me just a second, please. Show topics. Here we go. Boom. All right. So topic number one. Can we throw up the graphic to the first topic, please, James? Which is, that's right, Charlie Brown is racist. The Leftist started coming out of the woodwork. The same Charlie Brown special that's been on, I think, for, 30 or 40 years, featuring an African-American character. And but all of a sudden, people are upset because this character, his name is Franklin, I think, is sitting at the table on one side by himself while everyone else is sitting on the other side of the table. So I want to ask the panel what you guys think. Magdalene, did Charlie Brown become racist? He didn't used to be, but he is now. What's going on?
No, and Franklin has a better chair, so I don't know what this is about. Like, the dude's winning. I think the left was really trying to find something for Thanksgiving because they hit all the usual notes about how evil Thanksgiving is. So they went into their deep vault of childhood favorites and tried to destroy something else, but they missed the note with this one. Even though he's sitting alone, the dude has a better chair. I think it's the only fabric chair. And when I look at that, it's more I want that chair. I don't want to be sitting with these weird little folding chairs that he got out of his mom's garage.
Well, and who doesn't like having all the attention to themselves? It's he looks like Donald Trump. He looks like he's running the boardroom at that Thanksgiving. Shamika, what do you think?
I honestly, I don't care. For me, I saw this a year ago and people were complaining. And I'm just it's Charlie Brown. It's been out forever. I watched it as a child. I really don't care if they were intending to be racist or not. I feel like it's an old show. It's a favorite. I love it. As a child, I never thought, oh my God, Franklin's sitting on the side by himself. They don't like us. It's black. I never thought that. Move on. And they're always just trying to find something to complain about. That's crazy. Charlie Brown, come on. If you're going to complain about anything, complain about the fact that we can't figure out what the teacher is saying. Something else.
100%. And I didn't watch the episode, I'm not gonna lie. I was never really that big of a Charlie Brown fan, even as a kid. I always watched the stupid Christmas one. I hated that one too. I hated that Christmas episode, and then he would read that Bible verse at the end, and it felt like it went on for 25 minutes when it was so boring. But the Thanksgiving one I never watched. And but what I've read is that this character was brought on as a statement against racism, and that the scene in question is actually like they're welcoming him in. I didn't see it. I don't know. Mikey, what do you have to say about this?
I think it just really illuminates how the left, it's little things that set them off that they can pick up, but they don't care if somebody is actually racist, because I think Charles Schulz was known for being against racism. And, at that time in the 60s, it was very meaningful to show children of different races using the same pool and sitting at the same table. Like, that was a big deal then. And he made the choice to do that. So, of course, throw him in with everyone else. He's a racist, too.
Right. James, can you throw the picture up one more time? Because there's something else I want to point out here. Okay, just leave it up there for a second. Now, everybody, where's the LGBT community on this? That's what I want to know. Everyone knows Peppermint Patty is a huge lesbian. And that Marcy is her submissive love. There's definitely abuse in that relationship. There's definitely alcoholism in that relationship. Peppermint Patty, I think, is an abusive lesbian lover. And there she is sitting. Look, she's put Marcy at the end of the table. Marcy's the more submissive one of anybody. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with this. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking Franklin looks like the boss. I mean, he looks like he's literally running the board meeting. Can we go back to the panel? I don't know. I just think that there's a lot to unpack in that scene. There's a lot wrong. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. Okay. Yes. I love this one. This is Hillary Clinton. So the left has made it their mission for a long, long time to tell everybody on the right that they're very, very racist for wanting to have secure borders. But now this week, Hillary Clinton has come out and she says that she supports clamping down on immigration in Europe. But this is what I love. Not America, Europe, that Europe has a right to protect their borders. She says that Germany has done enough. They've done their part. They don't owe anything now at this point to the migrant communities. It's time to shut down the borders. And her reason, this is what I love. Can we come back to the panel? Her reason for this is not really anything to do with the citizens or the people or the immigrants themselves. She says that it's encouraging populism, that Donald Trump got into office because they allowed too much immigration. Magdalene, what do you have to say?
Okay, so I know why she's doing this because I talked to my friends in different countries. There is a thought amongst the center-left people, Macron, Merkel, that the way to win against the right is not to reflect on their own policies, but to become the own version of Donald Trump. They're now going to become the hard, out there verbose image that Donald Trump is, but with leftist policies. The problem with this is that the leftist policies that they're defending has led to Macron now having a 23% approval rating, Merkel sliding from 65 to 45, and that mess in England is facing a no confidence vote every 5 minutes. So she's trying to do this also because she wants to run again, and so does John Kerry. He also said these things in 2020, and they want to appeal to middle Republicans who still are very concerned about immigration.
Exactly. I was just going to throw to you, Mikey, because I think you were saying something about that too, John Kerry. Right?
Yeah, it's funny. John Kerry came out and said the same thing. He actually went further and said that Europe has been crushed by immigration. And I don't know, it just kind of shows that, all of us, we have these opinions that are viewed as so unpopular that people like us have been saying for years that there is a problem with immigration in Europe and them just letting everyone into the country. And for this, we were called, Islamophobic and xenophobic and racist. And now these people who would have blown a gasket a year or two ago if you suggested any such problem, now they're the ones agreeing with you. So the truth ultimately reveals itself, I think. And in terms of what you said, too, about these people trying to... I just think it's so funny when Democrats try and out-Trump Trump. You can't. It's just the most cringeworthy thing. It's like when you used to watch American Idol and these contestants would come on and try and out-Simon. You can't. Yeah, don't bother.
It's so true. Oh, it's so true. You're right. That's so cringy.
Right?
Okay, so it's disgusting. Shamika, I mean, what do you think? It's do you think that this is going to start kind of a trend now where Democrats are, when they're running for office, they're going to see that all of these policies that they claim are racist, bigoted, homophobic, that the result of a monster Donald Trump, they're actually going to start embracing these policies because they're working, and that the names that they assigned to them in the first place were never even true. Of course, these are not racist policies, they're not bigoted policies, but now they're going to kind of rebrand them, saying, oh, it was racist when he did it, but we're going to do it for different reasons because it's actually just good policy. I don't. What do you think, Shamika?
I mean, as soon as I read it or heard that that's what she was saying, I automatically knew she was only doing it for herself. You know, she was thinking about herself, and they've tried everything. They've tried, you know, calling Trump and everyone that follows him racist. And now it's like they're just pulling at straws. They have to do whatever they can to try and gain the vote. And so I'm not surprised at all. I do think they're going to continue to try and steal policies and make them okay because now they support them. But I'm not falling for it. Hopefully people will understand this is just another ploy for, you know, the Clintons and any of the other Democrats to just be in charge. You know, if you were really for this, you would have said it a long time ago.
Do you think she's going to run again in 2020, Shamika?
You know, I think she may. You know, I think she may, and I think that, you know, a lot of people would want her to. I don't, because I know that it may be, you know, a tough race, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did.
Right. Mikey, what do you think? Do you think she's going to run again? You want her to?
Please run again. Please, please, please. That'd be great.
Why, Mikey?
Because I just think, you know, it takes a lot to insult the intelligence of the American people, but she somehow does it. That she's just the most transparent person in the history of this earth. And it's funny, too, to go back to when she was saying, ooh, this, you know, these horrible policies there are, there's populism because of it. You know, the definition of populism, I have it right here, is support for the concerns of ordinary people. And Hillary, it is very clear that you could not give two fucks about the support for concerns of the ordinary people.
Well, that's actually an interesting point that you just made. I mean, it's sort of like we were just describing. Border security is now there. There's something wrong with that. There's believing that, you know, and even the word populism. Like it's almost like she's trying to now turn the word populism into a bad word. Like, oh, you're encouraging populism. That's the next thing. They're gonna make populism synonymous with racism. I guarantee it. That'll be the next thing. That'll be the next push. All right, let's move on. So the other night on Fox News, I loved this. I thought this was great. So Turning Point USA's Paulina was on Fox News doing a segment with James, do we have a video on this one? Yeah, we do? Okay, great. So I'll set up the video really quickly. So she's on Fox News doing a panel discussion, and the topic was supposed to be about Hillary Clinton, an investigation on Hillary Clinton. She seemed really confused out of the gate as to why she was even on the show in the first place. And then she dropped this little ditty on the air and was removed. Can we take a look at the video?
Come on, she's my friend, she's your friend, Justice Janine.
That's not it. That's not it. Yeah, can you scroll down? There may be another video in the order. Okay. Give us just a second, pulling up the video. Nope. Not it. All right, don't worry about it. All right, so in the segment, she's on the panel. There it is, right there. Yeah.
We can reenact it.
Yeah.
It's not going to play?
Of course she should be investigated. There's plenty of evidence that Hillary obstructed justice by destroying evidence in a gross and massive way. Joining us now, Paulina, Director of Hispanic Engagement at Turning Point USA, and Doug Schoen, Fox News contributor and former pollster for President Bill Clinton. Good morning to you both. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. How are you?
I'm good. Anna?
Say that with everything that happened with President Trump and the border, the dictator of 1903 established the ability of the president to federalize the National Guard and the National Guard in times of crisis and national emergency. And I thought we were talking about Hillary's emails, but we can get to the border.
Yeah.
Before we
get there, I'll give you a reaction to that.
Doug,
I think,
yeah, so I totally.
Please. Think it's only fair. I'm all for starting a Clinton investigation.
I'm just amazed that with everything going on in the world, we still have Hillary Clinton in the headlines.
Well, she's come back up.
She won't go away. She's like herpes.
Oh, okay. That's news that we're breaking here. Not appropriate. Can we talk about the border then? We're gonna wrap this segment a little early, Doug, because of some of the language that was used in this segment, and we apologize to our viewers for that. I have one last question for you, Doug. Where are you going to be spending this Thanksgiving?
I am going to be with my.
Got it. All right, so. And then she was removed from the show. So, I have a series of questions. First of all, I just want to get everyone's take on this, but also, was it? Shamika, what do you think? First of all, was it that big of a deal?
I definitely didn't think it was that big of a deal. She didn't say Hillary had herpes. She was talking about the fact that herpes doesn't go away. She didn't say Bill gave Monica herpes. I don't understand why they were so upset. She just compared the fact that Hillary won't go away to the fact that herpes won't go away. I think the man that got so uptight must have a case of them himself because he got so mad for no reason.
Okay. All right. Now we have to cut Shamika from the show for that. That's Magdalene, what do you think?
I actually was not thrilled that she did this because I feel like right now there's a really bad what happened with the MAGA people and everything, we had this whole new crop of young conservatives and no one really ever talked to them or gave them a lot of media training or anything. So when this happens, it's kind of like, oh, this is another young conservative who said something controversial. It doesn't help grow anything. So while right. I don't particularly I don't care particularly, I was just disappointed with this is somebody who's supposed to be in charge of growing young conservatives getting into the MAGA world. This is not helpful to this. Even if she's on the wrong segment, that it's just not helpful.
I agree. Mikey?
That's actually a good point I hadn't thought of. I do agree with that. And also, I'm the last person that you should judge tastefulness from. But I just think it's kind of funny Fox News telling us what's appropriate. When they're banging every person behind the scenes, oh, goodness, she said the H word? Oh, no.
Wait, who's banging who? What?
Just everyone there. They have 5 movies coming out about it.
Oh, my God. Okay, you guys. All right, so we're going to move on to the next topic. The Women's March founder is denouncing the Women's March team for anti-Semitic, homophobic alliances, affiliations, comments, and then Deborah Messing and Alyssa Milano have even backed up the Women's March founder. What is this woman's name again? I already forgot. The woman from the Women's March. Well, anyway, she came out to speak against Linda Sarsour and basically the team, that are now have kind of taken over the Women's March. Now, this is all stuff, once again, that people on the right have been saying for a long, long time. And it's just like Laura Loomer was saying earlier, too. These are true statements that were being made for a long time by people on the right. But now suddenly the left is starting to get it. And it ties into that Hillary story, too, the same thing with the immigration. So what is it? Why is it the left is just now starting to see all these things that people on the right have been saying for a while? Magdalene?
I actually called this switch in the Democrat Party to talking about anti-Semitism 3 weeks ago. I made a video about it. It did not get a lot of views. I saw this coming. The Democrat Party must have internal polling that anti-Semitism is going to be a huge issue in 2020. So they're trying to get out ahead of it. And they know people like Sarsour are expendable in this because that voting bloc is already going to vote for them because they don't want the Republicans in office. So this sudden push is not because anyone's had a great awakening. It's because the internal polling, the shift in how Jewish people are being treated in Germany, and the shooting in the synagogue has turned public opinion so far to the conservative side about this, they're just trying to stem the blood flow that's coming out of their movement.
Wow. What do you think, Mikey?
That's a good point. I think it goes back to what we were saying before, that the truth is ultimately revealed as the truth, and they can try and put whatever nefarious face they'd like on that and call you all the names that they'd like to. But eventually, the truth is revealed at a certain point. And I think it just shows that people like us need to stick to our guns and have the courage of our convictions and not care what names we're called by these people, because they're the ones who are going to have to be agreeing with us in a year or two.
But these should be prime walk-away moments. All of this stuff that's happening right now with Hillary, with this woman speaking out against the women's march, saying the same things that conservatives have said. These should be the moments that I think people on the right should be saying, we agree with you. We've actually been feeling that way ourselves for quite a while. Would you like to come join us and have a conversation? Maybe we should go for a cup of coffee and talk about it. I mean, I think these are moments that we should be embracing these people who are, I think, really kind of on the brink of getting red-pilled. Possibly walking away. Do you think so, Mikey?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think their ideology just sort of pushes people away by its own nature. It's always about getting rid of the other and getting rid of the wrong thinkers.
Shamika, what do you think about this great awakening that's happening on this purely organic, purely altruistic, purely natural awakening that seems to be happening lately on the left?
Right, something that we just didn't see coming, When it comes to this women's march, I am Shamika Michelle, and I am who I am. And I just feel like all of these women anyway just need a strong alpha male, and maybe as they, become more engaged, they won't be so emotional and uptight.
There it is. That's the answer to the whole problem. That's the fix we've been looking for all this time. Thank you, Shamika. All right, this is our last topic tonight, and I'm so excited. Like, this is literally, I've been dying to talk about this all week. I cannot wait. What the hell has happened to Celine Dion? What the hell is going on with Celine Dion? For anybody who doesn't know, Celine Dion has released a line of children's clothing. She decided that, there it is, she wanted to release a line of gender-neutral clothing for children. Okay, now, probably there's plenty of people who have an opinion on that, right? It's like, what's wrong with boys dressing like boys, girls dressing like girls, whatever? Or, honestly, frankly, what's wrong with boys dressing like girls or girls dressing like boys? I mean, I don't think anybody really has an issue with that. But you haven't seen the commercial. And you also haven't seen the pictures from the clothing line. Let's start with the commercial. James, can we show the commercial? And can we blow it up? Yeah.
It's okay. I'm Celine Dion. Our children. They are not really our children. As we are all just links in a never-ending chain that is life. For us, they are everything. But in reality, we are only a fraction of their universe. We miss the past. They dream of tomorrow. We may thrust them forward into the future, but the course will always be theirs to choose. I can't believe they called security. I mean, come on, Celine Dion. I'm not spending the night in jail. Holy shit.
Stacy, I'm Celine Dion.
Yeah, girl, and I'm Beyonce.
I'm calling my agent.
What did she blow on those kids? What, Mikey, what did she blow on those kids?
First of all, what sort of like Satan-y shit is this? Like, what sort of hellhole has she turned into? And oh my god! And like you said, why are they so into pushing this on children? And
why?
Also, did you catch? She just revealed their entire ideology right there. Did you hear her say, "Our children, they're not our children"?
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. They do not belong to us. They are merely an extension in an everlasting chain. Whatever. She's telling you your kids are not your kids, and she's breaking in and she's blowing black dust on them that are neutering these kids. Okay, it gets worse. Like, that's literally the best part. That's the best part. We need to show the pictures. James, do you have the pictures from the clothing line? Look at this. So she's linked up with this company called New, and she's created Celine New. Okay, look at that. That kid looks like he just got off a meth bender, and he's ready to go out and cut somebody for drug money. Cut to the Antifa. Look at these kids. These look like miserable looking children. Get to the Antifa. Look at these. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. There's an eye, the all-seeing eye. That kid looks like Antifa. Okay, and you have the other picture of the skulls. Oh, James, do you have the pictures of, did I send you the ones with like the skulls and the horns? No? I can't hear you, James. No? Well, okay, so also in this clothing line were pictures of babies with antlers. There's a picture of a little girl with a goat's head. This is not a lie. A picture of a little girl with a goat's head with horns. And what were some of the other, oh my, like skulls everywhere, skulls. Magdalene, what the hell is going on?
Well, it's not about clothes. It's about the fact that there is going to be a serious push, similar to how there's a serious push to dissolve borders and national sovereignty, to dissolve parental rights. And when they do that, they're going to have a civil war, and they're not going to win it. And everyone who thinks that you're going to walk into, especially, and I don't mean to like group people together, but you're going to walk into serious Christians' homes and take their children or tell their children, you know, you have to say this, this, and this, is delusional. And these leftists, people like this, it's not that they live in a bubble. It's that they have like this weird psychosis that they've been placed under, where they think nothing belongs to anybody because they've been without having to work for anything for so long. So go ahead, walk into serious Christians' homes because they are the backbone of this country. Go in, try to take their children or tell them their children need to wear a certain thing. You're not going to get out on your own. You're not going to survive. It's not going to go well. Even the Amish, go into serious Mormon homes. There will be bloodshed in the streets.
All right, we're going to come back to that in just a minute because I have some follow-up questions on that. Okay, look at that child with antlers. And what is that tube coming out of that baby's head? Those are demons. This is from Celine Dion's children's clothing line. Now, they removed some of these pictures from Instagram. James, do you have the ones of the goat head? Do you have the goat head picture? Shamika, what the hell is going on?
For one, Renee is rolling over in his grave. And I'm confused because to me, Celine Dion was always like a woman's woman. Like she just sang about love and loving men and, you know, just being okay with being a woman. And so now I'm just, you know, I'm really irritated because we're seeing this pushed on babies, on children. They're telling you that you can't refer to children in elementary school as boy or girl or he or she. And it's just getting really out of hand. And it's making me really angry because I don't understand why it's not okay for children to be whatever we say. If I say you're a girl until you are grown enough or old enough and your brain is developed enough to feel like you can make an intelligent decision. They can't make these decisions as babies, and I don't understand why they are so dead set on making them confused at such an early age.
Okay, and Shamika, this is what just like I find completely befuddling too, is like I'm a kid of the 80s, right? Like the 80s was totally a gender bending time and nobody cared. Nobody cared. I mean, Boy George was like this huge star. I mean, back then we used to call masculine girls tomboys, and it was fine. Listen, if you're a girl who likes to dress like a boy, or you're a boy who likes to dress like a girl, I don't think anybody cares. But it's like, why do we have to neuter children? This is what I don't understand. Why are we neutralizing gender?
Exactly.
Mikey?
Exactly. Just let people be who they are.
Choice, and now
I'm sorry,
it's like,
Shamika, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Shamika, go ahead.
No, definitely. I agree with you because I grew up with both. I grew up with girls that dressed like boys. You know, they were considered tomboys, and it was no big deal, you know, and now it's like you said, we're neutering kids out of the womb, and it's ridiculous.
Right. Mikey, what did you have to say?
Well, there's this weird sort of coercion aspect of it, too, that I think we all want kids and adults and whoever to be whoever you want to be, and that's cool. You do you. But it's this weird aspect of this being pushed on children by their authority figures. And I think the thing that genuinely makes me upset about this is I feel like what the LGBT community, the Alphabet Soup Club, is doing nowadays is there used to be all of these really ugly, untrue stereotypes from decades past about gay people, that the gay agenda, and you want to recruit children and turn them gay. But it wasn't true. And now it's as if they are taking all of these ugly stereotypes and giving validity to them and making them true. They are trying to push this on children today. And I really think that there's a major backlash
You're so right.
I think there's a major backlash coming against average LGBT people, of people who don't make the distinction between this and people like us.
I agree, and I think that's why I'm pushing so hard to try to provide a spectrum of possibilities. I think for LGBT people, don't get me started again on that Out magazine list they had, where every single person on their list was some stupid, indoctrinated leftist. They would never dream of putting a conservative on an LGBT top 100 list or anything like that, because it falls outside of the accepted current opinion, which now is to neuter your children and put horns on their heads. I don't get Magdalene,
these things look like the American Horror Story promos.
They do. They absolutely do.
Also, let's not gloss over the fact that her 40-year-old husband was banging her since she was 12. So, like, I wouldn't really trust Celine Dion as being the expert in child welfare.
Right.
That's really dark, Mikey. That's really dark. Even for Celine Dion, that's dark.
I like Mikey. Yes.
Magdalene, so I wanted to follow up with you on some of these things that you were saying. So you're saying it's a warfare on parenthood.
I'm saying that I think that liberals do not understand that one of the core values in pretty much all strong religious areas of this country is the responsibility of your children, taking care of your children. They also don't pay attention to serious religious areas in this country whatsoever. They're going to, one day, there's going to be a law or something that pushes it too far, and the Mormons, the evangelicals, the Amish, all of these groups, or the serious Catholics, are going to say no. And when conservatives and serious Christians say no, there isn't a social media campaign. There's a, we're going to the Capitol. And if they continue down this road, Mikey's right, there's going to be a serious pushback against people in the LGBT community who are not part of this. So if nobody gets out ahead of it now, one day the serious religious areas of this country, white, black, Hispanic, no matter what, are going to say, no, we're in charge now. And when that happens, Republicans are going to have serious problems because most of us don't want that to happen.
It's a very good point. But, you know, Mikey was saying that, you know, allowing kids to be themselves, you know, and it's such crap that these people on the left who are pushing for gender neutrality and whatnot are trying to allow kids to be able to discover who they are and to express themselves in the way they see fit. Because we all know if there was a little girl who only wanted to play with dolls and only wanted to play house and only wanted to whatever, the parents would be jumping in and being like, no, play with this football. No, get out there and get dirty. Oh no. And she's saying, no, I don't want to. Like, they're not just letting these kids express themselves the way they want to express them. Not if it's in a traditional way.
No, it's just it's societal shaming. And honestly, all these other countries in the world don't do this, aside from like France and Germany and England. So eventually, like the leaders of America have to say something like, all these other populations are not in these weird social world rules. None of this is happening. Our generation is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. We're more and more divided. And the strongest people in our country, if this isn't resolved politically, they're going to one day say, no, we're in charge now. And, God help the liberals when that happens.
Right. Shamika, do you have any closing thoughts on the issue?
Well, I was just going to say, I just did an Australian TV show last week, and they were saying, I forget which country, but they passed a law where they would only put X for the gender. And so it's happening in other places. And I just Magdalene was saying, like you all have said, this is something that we need to get out in front of, and it's going too far, and I appreciate both of you because, it's funny when Mike said the alphabet soup, because I'm like, geez, I can't keep up. LGBTQ, like how many more alphabets are they going to take? I just don't know. And so I appreciate someone other than myself who it would come across, I would be called the homophobe, realizing that, it's kind of getting out of hand.
Oh, it's out of hand. Shamika, to be fair, it's not just letters. They've also added numbers and symbols.
Oh my.
There's a 2 in it, which means two-spirit. And there's I don't know about the semicolon, but there's also a plus. And the plus is great. The plus is great because what the plus does is it allows it to go on to infinity. That people can literally just like on a daily basis start making stuff up and be like, I'm part of the plus community. But the one thing I want to talk about before we wrap up, because no one's brought it up, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, is there a cult aspect to this? Is there a new world order, Illuminati cult? Like what, Magdalene, do you have any feeling about that?
No, I think it's just that these people they've rejected, how all of a sudden like Elvis is racist and everything. I think when you have an issue,
racist now?
Yeah, I think when you have an issue where most of these historical icons or cultural icons have something that the left disagrees with, they have to go look on TV to see stuff, and they have to put it up because they have no culture, they have no history, they have no style anymore.
That's right. They really don't. Mikey, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny. If you look up every warning sign of a cult from cult prevention places, it has every warning sign. It's crazy. I just think it's really scary.
Are you talking about liberalism or Celine Dion's clothing line? Which one are we talking about?
I meant the left more generally, but that too. I mean, it's part of the larger thing, I guess. But I just think it's really horrifying what's happening in terms of children and this being pushed on them. There was just a story this week of this group of kids who had autism that were told and coerced into being told they're transgender, and this autistic child was given a double mastectomy. And I just think this is something we're going to look back on years from now, I hope, with horror. How we ever could have let it happen.
I don't know if this is the same story you're referring to, but a friend of mine sent me a story about a high school in which 17 students are now identifying as transgender, and the majority of them are autistic. 17. I mean, it's like this is because it used to be a complete rarity, and now it's like, oh, transgender, everyone's becoming transgender, and they all just happen to be autistic. Shamika, do you have any final thoughts tonight?
I was going to say, in reference to what you said, one of the babies in the Celine Dion commercial, the shirt said New Order on the baby when she walked into the hospital.
Oh, yes. A lot of the clothing says New Order. A lot of it has the all-seeing eye, just the one eye on it. Many of the pieces are skulls. Why on earth it's controversial to dress a girl in pink or a boy in blue, but it's perfectly acceptable to dress your child And listen, that's okay. That kid is probably, I don't know, 11 years old or something. I'm talking about like baby onesies. They have like baby onesies that are skulls, and these. It's crazy. Like, who are the parents who are buying this too? It's crazy. Whatever, guys. We have to wrap up. The show's gone really late tonight. Panel, thank you all so much for coming tonight. You've all been amazing as always. I want the audience at home to know I did try to find some liberals. I wanted to do 2 liberals and 2 conservatives on the panel. I have yet to find a liberal who will come on the show. We're going to keep trying. I just didn't want everyone to think that we're intentionally creating an echo chamber. I am not. I would love to have a spirited conversation and debate. So far, I can't get any liberals to come on the show. But we're going to keep trying. We're not going to give up on them. Everybody say goodnight. And I'll close out, as always, by saying that I am walking away, and I encourage all of you to do the same. Walk away. Have a good night, everybody.
Take a rest from all that walking.